Hey guys, it's Saria. Welcome back to my channel and another day of Vlogmas. So for today's video, it is an ear tutorial of the ears I'm wearing on my head right now. So I wanted to make fake sugar cookie Mickey ears. I did get a lot of requests for making fake gingerbread Mickey ears, but I'm gonna tell you guys, these were originally intended to go to somebody else as a gift and they liked sugar cookies. The one reason I decided not to send them is because I do feel that they came out a little bit small. These are perfect child size ears, but in order to make them for an adult, if you want them larger, like if you think this looks fine, great, this tutorial's for you. But I am gonna tell you guys, the cookie cutters I ended up with were just a little bit too small for my liking for an adult head. So I just kept these for Kala. I'm gonna show you guys what they look like on her so that you can kind of get a judging of if you think you need to find a bigger cookie cutter or if this one will work. I do have the cookie cutters that I used linked below, and I have used these in several other videos and tutorials so far, so I'll also link those below if you're interested and you wanna get your use out of your cookie cutters. I did get a set of 5 different shaped or sized Mickey cookie cutters off Amazon for around $5. Money well spent. They work really, really great. Again, the one qualm is that they are a little bit small. Now I will tell you guys, these are actually pretty much the same size as the ones in the park. So the parks have released their own Mickey gingerbread ears already, and these are very similar size. So if that doesn't bother you, then again, this is the tutorial for you. I'm sorry that I keep going on and on about this. It's just because I want you guys to like fully understand what you're gonna get if you just follow the tutorial completely. Does that make sense? I hope so. But I'm just gonna show you guys how I made the little fake cookies, how I attached them onto the headband and all of that. And of course, if you would like to add a bow and make them more like Minnie Mouse style, you can do that. I have an entire playlist of over 40 ear tutorials where I show all different kinds of bows. So if you need help making a bow, I'm your girl. Without any more chatting, let's jump into this tutorial.
So starting off with some Crayola Magic mold in plain white, I'm going to roll out a large ball. Now, you wanna make a pretty significant ball depending on how many cookies you're cutting. So if you're only cutting 2, I would suggest like a softball size. This first one that I roll out is kind of too small, but I had already cut the other cookie. The only reason I say to make it a little bit larger is because you want to make sure that your cookies are the same thickness, so it's actually better to cut them out of the same flattened clay. And then using the cookie cutter that I have linked in the description box below, it does come in a set of 5 sizes as I mentioned in my intro. I'm just using the largest size one, which says that it's a 3.5 inch diameter, but I think that that's from ear to ear, not like the head part of the Mickey shape. And then after I have that cut out, I'm going to take it and using my ear cutting template, I am going to use that bottom part to create a curve on the bottom. This is after 2 days, so the clay was almost completely dry, but not totally completely dry, because you do need to let this clay dry for 72 hours before painting it. So at the 2-day mark, I cut the bottoms off, and then at the 3-day mark, I'm going to create the frosting. So doing that, I'm going to use this Drydex spackle that I had on hand that's almost completely dried out, and then I'm going to be using this Apple Barrel bright red color to dye it. Now, I've also seen people do this with caulking, and I haven't tried that method yet. I am really wanting to, but I just haven't been able to try it out yet. I tried this so many ways, guys, and let's talk about the options. So, tried massaging the paint in. That did not work. I would not suggest it. It is quite messy and not effective. Then I put it into a plastic bag, added a little bit more paint, and this looked like a murder scene in a bag because it literally looks like brains and blood splattered everywhere. Also, not effective. Trial number 3, I'm on 3 now, is to put it in a bowl and using an actual like a little Play-Doh or clay tool is just to mix the paint in. I did end up using a lot more paint than I thought I would need to do this, so just be pretty generous with it, I guess. That's what I ended up having to do to get a true red color. And then I'm just really mixing it, and then I add a little bit more paint, and just make sure that you have enough to frost both cookies. This amount ended up being more than enough for both of my cookies. Now, although you do need to work quickly, you don't need to like freak out and rush. That's kind of how I felt while I was frosting these, because this does dry, but it does take with the paint inside, you've added moisture, so it takes a couple hours to dry. So I'm just taking that same little knife tool that I used to stir it, and I'm using it to spread the icing onto the fake cookie the same way I would a real cookie. I just kind of played around with it and slowly added more and more as I worked, but I did want it to look like I had actually frosted this cookie, so I just tried to leave like little kind of like swiping impressions on it. I hope I'm making sense. This is a very odd tutorial to voice over, guys. And then once I had both of these cookies frosted, I'm immediately going to move on to the next step, which is adding more frosting, but I'm first going to cut some sprinkles. So I'm just cutting a long strip of this green craft foam, and I tried to do like curved sprinkles, but it just made more sense just to snip it into little like really skinny rectangular sprinkles. So you're going to see me do that with green and then also some red later on. Now I started applying the sprinkles first, but then realized that I wanted to add some more frosting detail using puffy paint. So you don't need to add the sprinkles yet, just go ahead and cut them, but we're going to do the puffy paint first. Here you are going to see me add just a couple on, and then I have the realization that I skipped a step. I'm using some needle nose pliers. The best way to do this would be tweezers in my opinion, but I couldn't find my crafting tweezers and I didn't want to use my actual eyebrow tweezers. So next, moving on to that puffy paint step, I am using some white puffy paint first, and I'm just doing a little simple kind of zigzag frosting design, and then I'm going to do the same thing with a neon green puffy paint, going the opposite way to create like crisscrosses. And then once I have all of the puffy paint kind of frosting added on, I'm going to go in and start adding all my sprinkles. And again, I did cut some red ones as well as green ones and just added them kind of randomly. This is partially why you want all of this stuff to still be wet, because that's what's going to adhere these little sprinkles to your cookie. I did go in with that little frosting tool later on, and I just kind of poke the sprinkles down into the frosting to make sure that they are fully attached to my little cookies. And this is a close-up of what it looked like when it was all done, and then I allowed that to dry overnight. So once these were all dry, I took my spacing template and I am adding some hot glue to the bottom of the cookie and then just firmly pressing it down onto my headband. These were some of the easiest ears to attach. Just be careful of the spacing. They are kind of small, so it's a little bit tricky, I guess, to get it exactly in the place that you want, but as far as actually gluing them on, that part was super simple. And that pretty much does it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let me know if you plan on making these for yourself or for a loved one. If you guys are wanting to add a bow to this, I will link my entire DIY ear playlist below so that you guys can get some inspiration for bows. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!